What's up, everybody? Welcome to Kind of Funny Games Daily for Monday, October 16th, 2017. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the busiest lady in the business, Andrea Renee.
What's good, Greg Miller?
You are back from Tulsa.
That's right.
Was it fantastic?
It was very fun.
Yeah?
It was an interesting con. I've never been to Expo in Tulsa before. I've actually never been to Tulsa before.
Sure.
We had some fun adventures. We stumbled into a luchador wrestling event that turned into karaoke.
I heard about this.
And then the next night we went to a place called The Max, like Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
A retro pub, barcade type thing where they sold Jello shots and drinks named after famous 80s cartoons.
Nice.
And they had Pop Rocks. And they had a Ninja Turtles and Simpsons arcade machine.
Damn, son.
We spent some time on those.
When'd you get back?
Last night.
So you're just living, you're just riding the whip right now, whatever
Exactly.
it's got to be. Yeah, just rolling into the next thing.
Just keep going.
Well, thank you. Thank you for making it time for us
course.
today. Hanging in there. Of course, this is Kind of Funny Games Daily each and every weekday on a variety of platforms. We run you through the nerdy video game news you need to know about before giving perspective, answering your questions, having a good time, and hanging out with you best friends. If you like that, you can watch live on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames, but we don't look at the chat. Everything we read comes from kindoffunny.com/KFGD. However, if you are watching live, we need your help. Go to kindoffunny.com/you're wrong. Tell us what we screw up as we screw it up, so we can set the record straight at the end of the show for everyone else watching on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames or listening on podcast services at a later date. It's the way to keep it all going. That's your job, you live people. Thank you. Don't let it just be capitalist pig. Or he'll just get the job one day. He'll just become Stat Boy. Pieces of housekeeping for you. Cooking with Greggy. There's a new episode live on youtube.com/kindoffunny and over on patreon.com/kindoffunny. You also have a new episode that'll go live next week for everybody. It's ribs. They're delicious. Jen's in it. Extra Life is also coming up. I can't believe it is less than a month away from Extra Life. We are doing the Kind of Funny stream on November 4th, the official Extra Life day. You can sign up to be part of the team or just donate money over at kindoffunny.com/extralife. And then finally, we have new merchandise over at kindoffunny.com/store. There are Kind of Funny socks, Kind of Funny baseball tee, and a Kind of Funny blanket. Kevin, welcome home. You've cuddled up with that Kind of Funny blanket before. How is it?
It's excellent.
I wore your Kind of Funny sock. I wore Kind of Funny socks to your wedding when I married you.
As did I,
What?
and so did Cool Greg.
Nice.
We all agreed on it.
Yeah, exactly. Why we didn't? We should have taken a photo with him. You know.
You didn't take a photo of the
There
socks?
was a lot going on at this wedding. All right.
Well, I'll just wear suits and take a photo with the socks again, and then just
We'll
lie
just
to
wear the
everyone.
socks and just take photos of the socks. You know what I mean? How about we take a photo where all we're wearing is the socks, Kevin?
That's what I like to hear.
Do you guys have a lot of feet fans that follow you guys and look for photos of your feet?
We're about to find out. I would bet that you have more, and they're probably more vocal than our feet fans.
This is true.
Yeah?
I have, there's a site out there that I have a dedicated page on.
Go ahead and tell them what's the site.
I don't know if I want to.
Okay, good point. No.
Hey, listen, if you're interested, trust me, you probably already know where
You'll
it
find
is.
it at andrewandafeet.com. Yeah, that's it. Get that and redirect it to What's Good Games.
Hey, Greg, look.
Yeah. What? Oh,
Whoa.
your green screen.
Shirt,
If you're an
green
audio
shirt.
listener, I'm wearing the Danny O'Dwyer green shirt because I'm missing my Irish cream, so I thought I'd wear this. But he's got it.
That's messing with me.
His house
Oh
now
my
backs
gosh.
up. I'm inside my own chest. That's weird. His house now backs up to a forest preserve.
Kevin
or
is
something.
playing with the chroma key effect.
Kevin's had
in
2
the
weeks
video.
off, so he's just like, he hasn't used any of his tools in so long. These ones. Well, let's begin the show with what is and forever will be the Roper Report. Time for some news. Welcome home, Kevin. There are crap. Why do I not look at the number anymore? 5 items on the Roper Report.
A baker's dozen.
I even feel like I might have screwed that up. First is a weird one, a serious one.
Yes.
Of course, sexual harassment all over the news lately. Right now, over on youtube.com/kindoffunny, we're talking about the Harvey Weinstein stuff, the stuff from Andy at Screen Junkies, all of these different industries that are coming together. And the way that I feel with the domino, I don't want to use cliches, but with the floodgates kind of open with Harvey Weinstein, I think, where
Certainly.
this happened. All sorts of famous actors started coming out with their stories, and that's spreading throughout. We're going to talk about Naughty Dog and David Ballard. I feel it's very important to put out in the front of this that obviously I'm an incredibly biased source on this on every front. Know a lot of people at Naughty Dog. I've known David Ballard for years. I've stayed at his house when I go down to do stuff. That was when he was working at Naughty Dog. Obviously, I know plenty of people at Naughty Dog now. This is a very much, at this moment, a he said, she said situation. We're going to read both statements, reiterate that sexual harassment's wrong, and then have to leave it open. But we're not going to have a court of public opinion right now and where we go through and pick apart either of these statements or do anything to that effect. But I digress. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, over the weekend, Friday, I believe, David Ballard, a former environment artist at Naughty Dog, put up the following statement on Facebook and Twitter. In late 2015, I was sexually harassed at Naughty Dog by a lead. My work environment became extremely toxic afterwards. In February of 2016, I had a mental breakdown at work. Sony Interactive Entertainment corporate HR became involved, and when I told them about the sexual harassment, they ended the conversation and fired me the next day. They cited the company was going to move in a different direction and my position was no longer needed. They tried to silence me by offering me $20,000 if I signed a letter agreeing to the termination, as well as to not discuss it with anyone. I asked them to include the reason for the termination in the letter, to which they replied they would not, and also changed the reason for the firing, stating I claimed to be unhappy working there. I declined to sign. I've been unemployed for 17 months since. When interviewers ask why I left Naughty Dog, I tell them I got burned out by the crunch, ashamed to get into the root of the problem of being sexually harassed. I'm speaking out now because of the strength I've seen in others coming forward about their experiences in the TV film industry. I will not let anyone kill my drive or love for the video game industry. That goes up, makes the rounds all over the place. It's getting retweeted. People are responding. It's up on Gaff. There's a giant thread, to which over the weekend, Naughty Dog puts up their own statement on their blog. We have recently read on social media that an ex-employee of Naughty Dog, Dave Ballard, claims he was sexually harassed when he worked at Naughty Dog. We have not found any evidence of having received allegations from Mr. Ballard that he was harassed in any way at Naughty Dog or Sony Interactive Entertainment. Harassment and inappropriate conduct have no place at Naughty Dog and Sony Interactive Entertainment. We have taken and always will take reports of sexual harassment and other workplace grievances very seriously. We value every single person who works at Naughty Dog and Sony Interactive Entertainment. It is of utmost importance to us that we maintain a safe, productive workplace environment that allows us all to channel our shared passion for making games. What a shitty situation all around.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's nowhere to begin because I don't even know what to say, in this whole thing. And that's the thing is, like, you and I talk about video games and numbers and this stuff. I can only speak for myself, I guess. I'm not equipped to get into this, especially when it involves so many people I know so well and affects so many people directly.
Absolutely. I mean, that makes sense. So I I was at Tulsa Expo, the statement came out, the thread was released. And, obviously people have a lot of differing opinions on this. It's really sad to see, victim shaming happen, the questions of authenticity, who's lying, who's telling the truth. Was Naughty Dog's statement enough? Why did it feel so sterile, so stiff?
Sure.
I mean, really what it comes down to is they had to respond to the allegation. They couldn't just let it lie. So I'm glad that they moved quickly in their response. Their response is to be expected. It's very legalese. It protects them in a variety of ways. And ultimately, even if Naughty Dog wanted to make it a more personalized response, they probably were forbidden to do so 100%. From Sony's legal team. So I hope fans of Naughty Dog aren't going to come down on them hard for the way that this statement was phrased, because I guarantee that it was not their choice to write this statement in this exact way. But the whole situation is really terrible, and nobody should have to go through that in the workplace.
Right.
And I'm not quite sure, what David's position is now on what
happens next.
What, if anything, if he's seeking some kind of resolution, what that resolution is, or if he just wanted to put his story out there.
Solidarity that this can happen to anyone.
Right. So I haven't had the chance to speak to him or speak to anybody who has spoken to him to say, like, do you want to take this a step further, and what does that step further look like?
Yeah.
But maybe this is just a teachable moment in that, hey, like, you're not alone. This happens to people even at companies that are pretty, universally loved. I don't know people that are outwardly spewing about how much they hate Naughty Dog and how bad of a company they are.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important for us to remember that no matter how good or how much positivity a certain entity, company, big or small, puts out there still can be some bad eggs inside that company.
And I think that's the most important thing to take away from this, right? As we've talked about everything, and I mean, to go to even the joke Al Michaels made on Sunday Night Football, right?
Which was tasteless, yeah.
It's what happens when people are like, oh, what is a funny joke and all these different things. It all lacks empathy.
Yeah.
You're taking a headline and disassociating it from, in the Weinstein situation, the dozens dozens of women that have been affected, that had careers ruined or put off track or this, that, or fuck the career, just had to deal with this emotional baggage, right? And it's the same thing with this one where it gets so sticky, and Naughty Dog, of course, has to respond. But then it's the thing that they respond with a statement that is, like you're saying, very legal, very middle of the road. This is what they're saying. But then to have people jump on that, I think the important line in here, right, is that we have not found any evidence of having received allegations from Mr. Ballard. That was the statement here in there that I think most people got. But when I saw people attacking the statement on the internet, that was the thing of, oh, they're denying this happened. And it's not from what they're saying that they're denying it happened or may not. They're saying we don't have a record of a statement about this. And so then it gets down to the fact of, okay, let's think again about, let's have empathy and let's have perspective in the way that you go to HR and you report that that's one person, we'll say. And then they talk to one, and this is all hypothetical. Like, you could easily have bad people in a good company, bad people in a company that's surrounded, or not even maybe bad people. That's not for me to judge, but you have people where they aren't doing their job the way they're supposed to do it, maybe.
Right. I think the thing that a lot of people are trying to put across with, the hashtag #MeToo that's going around, the various platforms of social media is that when stuff like this happens, when you go to HR, when you finally get the courage to go and tell somebody at your company about it, it is almost always met with you being seen as the liability. There's really very few positive outcomes for the people who choose to go forward. Mm-hmm. You go forward, you tell somebody, then it becomes an investigation to make sure that your claims are true, which is hard, on top of just having to say it out loud. Then they have to look and see if you're telling the truth. And then you're questioning yourself. And then you ultimately become a liability to the next company that wants to hire you, because they'll be like, oh, well, there was a settlement there, or it got taken to court, or somebody was fired, there was bad press. And then you become like a toxic asset. And this is why people don't talk about it. This is why victims go years, if not their entire lives, without ever telling anybody that they've suffered through these kinds of situations. And that's, I think, the good thing that we're talking about now. I don't think it's going to change, which is the really tragic part. I don't think that we're in a position where that's going to, we flip a switch and now because everyone's talking about it, the situation goes away. But I'm glad that
Does
people...
it get a little bit better, though? Well, if we drag this out of the darkness into the light to an extent?
I think, yes. I think it's good that people are unifying and finding strength in others and seeing inspiration in others coming forward and saying, I feel stronger because of your strength. Yeah. I think that's 100% a good thing. I don't know from a real, on paper, what's going to happen. From a legal perspective, if there will be more protections for people who come forward, if there is a better reporting system. Because ultimately it comes down to he said, she said. Yeah. And most of the time he said wins. And that sucks.
Yeah. 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 I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see where this goes from here, what this is. Is there legal recourse? Is it something that's just left to go? Is it always this thing that's just hanging above both Dave and Naughty Dog? And
I hope not. Yeah. I hope Dave can, take this experience of him putting himself out there and find some closure and move on and find more positive experiences in his life. Yeah. And I hope that Naughty Dog takes a hard look at their HR practices and their workplace and go, hey, are we providing the most positive work environment? Are there things that we're letting slide? Because a lot of times, and I've said this before on other issues regarding, other types of, difficult situations in the workplace. I think when we were talking about PewDiePie's, racist comments, that there are people out there that are so ignorant that they don't realize what they're doing is wrong. The things that they say are bad. That certain types of joking amongst friends that you bring into the workplace, you maybe don't realize, hey, that joke is not appropriate for the workplace. Certain types of humor, we can all kind of oh, haha, it's just a joke. But to somebody else, it might not be a joke. And it's just about, like you said, having more empathy for the people around you. And instead of immediately getting defensive and be people are too sensitive, people want to be too PC, be like, hey, just stop for a second and maybe try to feel what that person is feeling.
That's the biggest thing I take away. And I'm not trying to get on a soapbox or whatever, but it's all empathy here. And it all is just for a second, stop and think about it. Because, that was the thing with the topic we did on GOG, right? We had Joey sit in on it, right? Which I've always been against in the past of hey, we're talking about Ferguson, let's go find a black person to have on the show or whatever. Or we're talking about a women's issue, let's just for that one thing get it. But we have a woman who works here now named Joey. So it was all right, cool. And it's about workplace stuff. And, my question to her was like, have we done that to you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, cause I don't want, and I said it, you know, at the table of like, it's my nightmare that I've done that to someone and didn't know. And Tim's like, I guarantee you have. And I was like, fuck, you know what I mean? And I was, Joey, have I? And she's like, no, you haven't to me, but like, it's totally possible. And it's especially when you go back and you go through, like we're talking about, of like, I think the problem of why the internet gets so out of control, whether it be Twitter, YouTube comments or whatever, is the fact that all these social media sites, all the way to comment, I think are attractive when you're younger. And when you're younger, you're still forming all your opinions. And I mean, it's something I talk about all the time on Game Over Greggy though. But like when I went to Mizzou, I didn't like something that was gay. Don't be a fag, da 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 da. And it wasn't until I had my first gay friend who was like, whoa, dude, think about what you're saying. What do you mean? And because I'd had in other times when another gay person would get but like roll their eyes at me, but I already didn't like. There's one very specific example freshman year. There was this girl who just did not like me from the jump. Before I think she knew me or whatever. Not that would have helped because I was still saying gay like an idiot walking around. But like I said it in front of her and she kind of rolled her eyes. And later on, this guy was like, maybe you shouldn't say that. I was like, oh fuck her, she's a bitch. I don't want to, blah blah blah. And then it was my friend who was like later on, months later, just like, hey, you're not thinking this through. Like, what do you mean Jason X is gay? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't like that movie. It's stupid that it made so much money. He's like, that's not what you mean. Like, talk. And like,
Right.
you go through that and you do that. And it's all a learning process. But so many people, when they hear a conversation like we're having now, or someone on Twitter says it, or whatever, it is challenging something they already do and want to keep doing and just want to get their 140 characters out there and move on, or just want to fire off their YouTube comment and move on. And like, if everybody would stop for a second, take a breath, and like, what if you were on the other side of that? And what if it was somebody coming down on you? Why can't we not be defensive about it and just talk about it? And that would be my hope here. I mean, not only David, but the Me Too hashtag of everything else, and everybody out there who's been harassed or assaulted or whatever, is talk about it and be open about it, because nothing gets better if we don't talk about it, right?
Exactly.
If my gay friend and gay friends had never, ever, ever tried to correct me, what would I know? I would still say it and think it's totally fine and not know they were hurt on the inside. And I know these are apples and oranges, but to an extent, like, and that's the whole thing of like, you get to make the choice too, I think, and the fact that we're kind of funny. And when we're on the Game Over Greggy show, we say stupid stuff and we go off on stupid tangents and we make up stupid doodles and all these dumb things, right? It's within reason for somebody to come to us and be like, hey, I didn't like that because of X, Y, and Z. And I'm not talking about like, obviously, sexual assault or something to that effect, or like something where there's like clearly a black and white. I'm not talking about this situation, but in general. But it's also within your prerogative to listen to them, make your counter argument, and then walk away and do what you want to do based on the information you have, right? I could have been what I feel as an asshole and been like, you don't think Jason X is gay? You think, well, no, I'm going to keep using gay as a derogatory term, but not mean homosexual. See you later.
Right.
Like, no.
Well, I also, before we move on, I also want to like just add, there is an element of personal responsibility to this as well. Because I've had friends of mine approach me and be like, I'm going through this thing. Can you tell me like what I'm supposed to do? And I'm like, well, have you told the person that you don't like the way that they're behaving, that the things that they say bother you? And almost always it's no, I haven't. And it gets to
an uncomfortable conversation.
It is, but it gets to a point where like you have to be able to at some point be ready to confront yourself and how you feel about the things that are being said, and find out what that means to you and what that looks like. And then if you can't communicate it directly to the person who's doing it to you, hopefully you can find like an intermediary, and you don't need to use names. You can be like, hey, can you just tell like Joe over there like that, like the jokes he's making aren't cool. And hopefully you have somebody in your life can be that person for you if you don't feel strong enough to do it yourself.
Yeah. It's a complicated issue. But I think, again, it comes down to what I said a long time ago. Just be better to each other. We can all get through this.
Don't take the cheap joke.
We can all...
You can do it. You can make the funny joke. I believe in you.
We can all get through it. We can all be better to each other. We can all talk a little bit easier, more respectful to each other. Number 2 on the Roper Report, the UK, oi governor, is investigating loot boxes, according to IGN. IGN reports the UK government must respond to a petition concerning the use of loot boxes as gambling in video games after it gained significant public support. The online petition has accrued more than 10,000 signatures, the minimum needed to ensure a government response since it started. Titled, Adapt Gambling Laws to Include Gambling in Video Games Which Target Children, the appeal is asking for a reform in the UK gambling law to include in-game mechanics like loot boxes, which, quote, are targeted at children and vulnerable adults, end quote. Quote, while not currently considers, and this is spelled in context, gambling by law, they do copy many traits to make them as addictive and can lead to real money being lost/earned. Gambling in video games mostly involves loot boxes, where players use virtual currency, often bought with real money, to earn in-game items often worth less than what they paid, sometimes more. The petition also refers to a recent law passed in China forcing publishers to display the odds behind loot boxes in games like Overwatch and Counter-Strike Global Offensive. The petition also notes this clarity-based approach, quote, had been standard in the UK gambling industry for years, end quote, and proposes that the same rules should apply to video games. An interesting new wrinkle, as we've gone back and forth so many times on this show about loot boxes. No reason to kick the hornet's nest again. I'm sure we've already done enough of that today.
Yes.
But it's interesting to see the UK getting involved and to be... Well, I'll be fascinated to see what the government comes down, what their response is to it from there.
I hope that in the United States it doesn't get to the government being involved, because that's a nightmare for everybody, for gamers and for the people who make games and for the people in the government who don't understand what video games are.
100%.
I hope that we can just universally agree, if we can just put the disclaimer, there are in-game transactions on the box or when you buy the digital purchase, and I think that should cover it.
I feel like what's going to happen is, and I don't know if it'll be spurred on by whatever the response here from the UK is, but we're getting to the tipping point where the ESRB is like, we won't classify it as gambling. Fine. But it's going to be just like the game ratings, where we're going to, if anyone's forward thinking enough, and everyone in this industry is, to look down the line and be like, we're eventually going to end up in Congress if we don't do this. So just like the ESRB, let's do it ourselves. We'll take care of this. And yeah, we'll put on there that there is this thing, there is this new notification, there is this new rating to it that doesn't call it gambling, but puts on there, hey, real money's going to be spent, and there are all these different loot boxes.
It's on mobile games. We can do it for every other game, too.
And that seems like after everything we went back and forth with loot boxes, that seemed to be the one common ground I think everybody who talked about this had. Whereas I was like, it's not gambling. It's like capsule machines. And people are like, Greg, you're fucking wrong. It's this, that, and the other. I feel like everybody's like, well, we can put it on boxes. I'm like, yeah, of course you can put it on boxes. I don't mind telling people that it's in there.
Right.
All right, good. We've solved this. Everybody, ESRB, just do it. It's done. Kevin, draft a letter to the ESRB. Tell them to do it. Number 3. The Flame in the Flood is a big success on Switch. Jeez. Like so many indies. This is an MCV article that'll roll into a Kotaku article. Curve Digital released indie roguelike The Flame in the Flood on Nintendo Switch Friday, and the game has already smashed expectations, according to publishing director Simon Byron, beating day one sales from all other platforms it's been released on. Byron also added on Twitter that the success of The Flame in the Flood has resulted in increased interest for its upcoming title, Bomber Crew, as well, which is now the publisher's most wishlist game prior to launch. Quote, it's a real relief having our personal enthusiasm for the Switch being backed up with sales success, he told MCV. It's been incredibly frustrating only having anecdotal evidence about the buzz for Switch titles, so we've been generally desperate to get a game out there so we could get some hard data ourselves. There was a real buzz in the office this morning. Managing director Jason Perkins was in before me, which is rare indeed, and it was all specifically due to the excitement for seeing figures. I had a number in my head, which I would be very pleased with, and it was a third over that. Indeed, it's fair to say it's had the best ever day on any console since we've been publishing it, beating any other format we launched on. It's done just under half of our first full month forecast in a day. So, the drought, or the gold rush to Switch, not over by a long shot.
No, and it's interesting that this story came up because there was an article on Kotaku titled, only 2 of the current top 10 most downloaded games on Switch were made by Nintendo.
Which reads, indie games are selling phenomenally on the Switch's eShop, better even than Nintendo games. That Stardew Valley is the current bestseller on the Switch eShop. Shouldn't surprise anyone. Switch owners have been clamoring for the game since it was announced that it would launch on the platform last year. What is more interesting is that the top 10 eShop games are mostly indie titles. Only one of those, Golf Story, is a Switch exclusive. 7 of those games were released on other platforms long before they launched on the Switch. By contrast, the top 20 recent sellers on the Nintendo 3DS is dominated by Pokemon and Mario games. When I spoke briefly to CEO of the SteamWorld Dig 2 development company Image and Form over email, he said, quote, the Switch version of SteamWorld Dig 2 is doing many, many times better than any of the other platforms. It's a sentiment that's being echoed by other developers, according to the Flame stuff we just talked about. And then FDG Entertainment, the publisher of Oceanhorn, has also said that the game sold more on the Switch than all other consoles combined. Hot damn! I've been saying, Andrea, the Switch, Vita 2. And here it is. The promise of the Vita realized by Nintendo on the Switch. Still there, all your indies, but now you still get AAA stuff. Huzzah!
But
Hooray! Mario!
Yeah,
Switch! It's great. What a year!
But it's better because the Switch you can dock and then play on your TV, which you couldn't do with Vita.
A huge problem. Everybody's like, why isn't there an HDMI port on the bottom of Vita? Everybody's like, nah, quiet. Don't worry about that. Why would we put that there? That's a silly thing.
The Switch is now telling you exactly why you should have put it there.
But I mean, it's, again, apples and oranges, right? Sony wanted that to be their handheld. Nintendo never wants to call the Switch a handheld. It's a console you can take with you on the go. It's like, no, just fucking call it a handheld.
It does feel more like a console than a handheld.
What's that perfect? It's the perfect marriage of them, right? Where I think you can feel either way to that. It's funny. Yesterday, I streamed Friday the 13th, and we were going to do a Sunday stream and drink a little bit and have fun. So it was me streaming Friday on one TV, Jen playing Stardew Valley on another TV, and then Joey playing Stardew Valley on her Switch. And then when I stopped playing Friday the 13th to go make dinner, like 30 minutes in, I looked over and Joey was still playing her Switch. And I'm like, Joey, you can plug the Switch into my dock there and play on the TV. She's like, all right, you can. You just don't think about it. You're just, whatever you're playing the Switch is how you play the Switch, and that's what it is.
It's true. And an interesting tweet from Stephen Totillo, he said, my pet theory on why there's no virtual console on Switch yet is Nintendo wanted to let third parties thrive to generate developer goodwill. Now, that's an interesting theory. I don't think that that's what Nintendo is thinking. I think
sell these fucking classic consoles till everybody's got 12.
Yes, exactly. But also, they don't want to flood the market in between their tentpole games. And with Mario coming so soon, I'm sure they don't want to crowd that release window with another first-party title that will be, somewhat on that scale.
Yeah.
But it's great to see so many indies finding a space and finding an audience on Switch because they're, drowning in the Steam marketplace or, on PSN or Xbox Live. Yeah, it's great.
I think it's just that there's something to the Switch in the same way. This is what I was talking about with Guacamelee devs, right? Drinkbox Studios, where they were always like, wow, people were giving them crap about asking questions like, why are you really making games for Vita? Why are you making exclusives for Vita at the time? They're like, well, because Vita people buy games. Like there's an attach rate there, regardless of how big the system is. And it's the same thing here with Switch, where I'll take a shot and if a game sounds interesting, one of these indies, I'll download and do it. And that's what I talked about on Gamescast, now available on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames last week, where I had Golf Story and I had Stardew Valley on my last trip. Played them both a little bit, but neither was hitting the spot. So I popped out. I'm like, what else do I have on here? And I had Conga Master Conga Master Party. That's what it was. And I jumped in and played that for hours. And I was like, oh my God, what a fun, goofy game. This is amazing. And I talked about it on the show. And this one guy tweeted at me over the week. He's like, yeah, I loved it so much I platinumed it on PlayStation 4. And I was like, this is on PlayStation 4? And like, how easy is the platinum? And like, it totally blew past me. And I never knew about it. And I never thought about it. And it was never something where I was like, oh, I should play this because when I get home to PlayStation 4, I have the 3 games I need to keep playing at any time. But on Switch, I'll download it, worry about it, and go. Switch is awesome. You're coming around on it.
I was playing a lot of Zelda this weekend.
Yeah?
In my hotel room and on the plane.
Still good?
Yeah, it's still good. I still have 2 Divine Beasts I have to take down, but I've been getting distracted with side quests.
That'll happen. Now, this is funny because Kevin literally just got up, and this is like the one part I needed Kevin for. Kevin!
Come back!
Sorry, I need your help. We need Skycam for 1 second. So this is a super simple story for everybody. E3 2018 updated their site. They've got a new logo. So if you're at home, it's E3 2018. The E is red. The 3 is yellow. This is your audio listener, I guess. You can see this if you're just watching. There. Oh, Kevin's zooming in.
I mean, it's
clean.
It's okay. It's not bad.
It's clean and it's flat. I've been kind of sick. You remember the old E3 logo is always like trying to be like 3D coming at you. I'm like, this has been this way for years and years. Don't get me wrong. I never at any point was like, man, you guys need a new logo, but hey, we got a new logo. Cool. Kind of looks like McDonald's colors. I like that the E has a little cutout where the 3 would bump up right against it.
This logo, more app friendly.
And there you go. Everyone wants that clean, simple design
Get that little box, a little square.
100%, yeah. And then final story of the Roper Report is from CD Projekt Red. They put up a letter answering some concerns. Had you seen these concerns?
No.
Me neither. And so I started in like, well, I don't know if this belongs in the Roper Report, but what I find fascinating, so basically that there was some stuff on, people have been reviewing the company, I guess people who used to work there on sites like Glassdoor, saying like what they think about it. I guess they were kind of negative, so people were all up in arms about it, and this apparently was getting circulated around. I missed all of that because I must have been playing video games. However, I like how CD Projekt Red, one of the most open developers in terms of talking to their fan base. Here's this free DLC. Here's a thank you letter. They let you in behind the curtain. We always talk about on these shows, everything we do, anywhere you listen about games and media, about people leaving a studio and why that might happen. And, oh, man, this head left. What about it? I want to read you this letter from CD Projekt Red co-founder Marcin and studio head Adam. Hey there. If you're following news related to CD Projekt Red, you might have recently stumbled on information regarding morale here at the studio. We'd normally avoid commenting on company reviews on spaces like Glassdoor, but this time around, especially in light of the fact that we haven't communicated anything about Cyberpunk 2077 for a long time and saw some gamers getting worried about the project, we'd like to elaborate on a few things. First off, we'd like to talk to you about the departures. In 2015, when we released The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, we were over 200 developers strong, and that was the core crew of the studio. Since then, we've almost doubled the headcount, and we're still hiring. Do people leave? Sure they do. We always wish them we always wish them all the best and respect both their decision and the feedback they give us as the reason for their departure. We are continuously working on making Red a good workplace for everyone, but we also have a set of values that constitutes who we are and how we do things. So, does a departure, even a high-profile one, mean that the project is in danger? One would need to be very courageous to base the future of a AAA role-playing game of such scope on one person or a few people. Every role-playing game we ever developed seemed impossible to achieve at the moment we set out to create it. It took us 5 years to finish The Witcher 1. We had to make our own engine to complete The Witcher 2 Assassins of the King, and we had to entirely reinvent the way we made games to deliver an open world for The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. When we start down the road to creating something, we know the destination, and we're sure of one thing. Even if something feels impossible, it doesn't mean it is. And, as it turns out, most often things are perfectly possible. They just require a lot of faith, commitment, and spirit. This approach to making games is not for everyone. It often requires a conscious effort to reinvent the wheel, even if you personally think it already works like a charm. But you know what? We believe reinventing that wheel every friggin' time is what makes a better game. It's what creates innovation and makes it possible for us to say we've worked really hard on something, and we think it's worth your hard-earned cash. If you make games with close enough is good enough attitude, you end up in a comfort zone, and you know where the magic happens. Cyberpunk 2077 is progressing as planned, but we are taking our time. In this case, silence is the cost of making a great game. As always, thanks for being so engaged in what we do. It shows us it's all worth the hours put in. Yours, Marcin and Adam. I thought a nice letter. Getting out there, saying, so many people would just say nothing. They would let it all stack up. People are mad on Glassdoor. The community would get all riled up. You'd have a community manager go into Reddit, blah, 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 blah. Here they're coming out in front of it, getting in front of the story, which I think so many people don't do in this industry.
It's interesting, though. I don't know how to take this statement because you have to immediately question it if you want to give merit to any of the complaints, or you're just taking them at their word that everything's fine and that some people just can't hang. But I've been in plenty of different types of work environments across my career. Some people just are not cut out for really hard work. Some people are just okay doing like their 9 to 5, punching out, going home, having their life outside their office. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And some people are meant for crunch and want that really, kind of like they thrive under the pressure.
Sure.
But I'm not sure if that's what we're having here or if there's like a middle ground somewhere. It's hard to know without getting like actual,
that's the thing about the statement,
responses.
right? Is that they're not going into any of the complaints that have been lodged. They're not telling you why these people left, which they can't, obviously. Right. But they're getting in there and saying, I appreciate the fact that they're getting out there trying to say, hey, we've seen a small part of the community starting to get restless on this, getting worried about this, seeing these reviews or whatever that are popping up on Glassdoor. But more importantly, that they're, Cyberpunk is going, it is quiet, but somebody who's the head of it leaving, being towards the top of it leaving doesn't mean it's all for naught. It's interesting to say the least. Yes,
indeed. I would be curious to hear more in-depth stories from people who left as to why that they left.
Yeah.
Obviously, after a major project ships, studios always thin out their staff because they just don't need as much staff after the game launches as they did before it launches.
Sure.
That's just
why
game dev.
That layoff cycle was so bad for so many years. Yeah.
Right. So I'm not sure like how much of that comes into play here versus people choosing to leave because they either found a better opportunity or they're leaving specifically because the work environment was bad and not a positive place for them. I would be also interested to talk to CD Projekt Red why they felt compelled to make this statement the way they did.
I mean, that's...
I'm kind of confused about it all.
Well, I mean...
I kind of don't know what to make of it.
My thing about it is I like so much that they made a statement. I like the fact that they didn't shy away from it. They didn't let this boil. They didn't let this simmer. They didn't let like their most hardcore base get off of it. And
Agreed.
Granted, then it gets read out here to us who are like, I didn't even hear there was a problem. But I like that because so many people let shit like that happen. And by the time we get closer to this, it's going to be, well, you heard this guy left and you heard this, blah, blah. And like, granted, those are still red flags. There's still something going on there if reviews are going up that are bad and this is happening. But the fact that they're getting out in front of it is appreciated. In the same way, thank you, the fans appreciate it, and putting out free DLC is appreciated. Being, I don't know, CD Projekt Red still runs themselves like a developer that's much smaller. All eyes are on them, right? Like Witcher 3 is an amazing game of the year for so many people. Like they've gone up an echelon here, but they're still acting like they are making Shovel Knight. And that's not to knock Yacht Club Games, who are amazing too, but this is a different thing that you wouldn't expect to see from... I mean, if somebody left Bethesda Studios and started putting up bad Glassdoor reviews, I wouldn't expect Todd Howard to come out and write a blog post about like, hey, we've seen that, but it's not a big deal that the guy who was working on Fallout 5 left.
Right.
Or whatever announced Bethesda game there is that I don't know about off the top of my head. Andrea?
Yes, Greg.
Sounds like CD Projekt Red is coming far, far, far from now. If I want to know what was in mom and grop shops digitally today, where would I go?
You would go to the official list of upcoming software across each and every platform as listed by the Kinda Funny Games daily show hosts each and every weekday.
Yeah. 2 games. Realms of Arcania, Blade of Destiny on PlayStation 4, and then Immersive Poetry on PC.
I don't know how I feel about that.
That sounds like a must play.
A must play.
What is
All right,
immersive poetry like?
Let me look this up.
Is it like
Immersive
typing of the dead?
poetry.
Do I write my own poetry? Do I read a poem and then go into a level about it?
On Steam.
She's looking on Steam about it.
Okay. Enjoy an interesting twist on classic poetry by solving puzzles and following the story of the Wilkins family. From the islands of Finland to the snowy mountains of Russia, you'll explore and experience beautiful maps based on real-world locations.
Okay.
This gameplay video is... I'm not sure what to make of this.
Andrew Renee from What's Good Game says, I'm not sure what to make of this. Box quote put in the trailer. New dates for you. There's 2 Star Wars Battlefront 2 PlayStation 4 bundles coming. One's just a PlayStation 4 Slim with Battlefront 2. The other is a PlayStation 4 Pro with Battlefront 2 and a whole bunch of Battlefront logos slapped on
Are we going to talk about how ugly it is?
Abigail writes in to kindafunny.com/KFGD just like you can and should and says, why can't Sony make a good-looking special edition console? I saw the Battlefront 2 PS4 Pro today and was so surprised at how ugly it looked. Microsoft has made quite a few great-looking special edition consoles like the Minecraft one, for example. When will Sony up their game and make a special edition you would be proud to display? So, you are correct, Abigail. You are correct, Andrea Renee. This is not a good-looking special edition. If you saw the Destiny one, the controller is similar to that, where it's like...
It's like logo on the 2 handholds of the DualShock 4. It says Star Wars across the front faceplate. When I say front, so if your PS4 Pro is laying flat, like horizontal on your shelf, you can see Star Wars written out in text. Up there? Yeah.
Here, Kevin, can we get Skycam again? And make sure you got none of
Hold on.
Close all your porn tabs.
Let me get a clean image here. Let me try to get a full screen one.
Kevin, until then, just do my hand.
Oh my gosh. Hold on. The page isn't loading.
Now,
give me a second. I'm going to a different page.
For you, the person on youtube.com/kindafunnyvids, no, kindafunnygames watching right now, you'll notice this finger always reminds me of my father. Because I just have my father's knuckles. I have my father's hands. Whenever I remember being a kid, and I'd be watching him drive the truck. He always drove a truck. Ford Ranger, just like Kevin. And it's one of those things where I would always see his knuckles holding the wheel or whatever. And then, here we got the thing. Now I see it when I hold stuff too. There it is. There you go. That's what it looks like.
So if you are listening and not watching, and you haven't seen this yet, it's a standard black DualShock 4. There is a Rebel logo and an Imperial logo on each side of the DualShock 4. And then on the console itself, standard black color that the PS4 Pro is in. Like I mentioned, the text Star Wars written on the front. On the top, There is the logos, the same logos from the controller in the corners, and in the middle is this
Inferno Squad.
the Inferno Squad logo in red.
Squadron. Yep, that's a thing.
So this is like super lazy. Worth noting that this comes with the copy that gives you.
I thought that's what you were laughing at. I thought you knew you had it on just a one shot.
Worth noting it comes with the copy that gives you early access, 3 days of early access to the game.
Sure.
I just I kind of am like, you can do so much better.
Here's the thing, like you remember the Xbox 360, right? Where they did the Star Wars one that looked like R2 and it popped out and it says "You're my only hope" on it and it made all the noises and shit. And I'm like, I'm not even a Star Wars fan. I think that thing's cool.
Let me see if I
That's
can
an
pull
awesome
this
special
bad
edition.
boy up.
And to the point Abigail's making, the Minecraft one for Xbox looks rad. I have a Gears of War 4 one that they sent us when they did Xbox One S's. That one is rad. Now, granted, I'm not the biggest Gears fan, so when it makes like Gears noises when it turns on and off, I'm just like, all right, one's better than just a ding, I guess. But
Is this the Star Wars one you're talking about?
Yeah, 360.
I don't know
Remember
if you
that
can still see.
Kevin,
You still
can
have
go,
this up,
Skycam?
Kevin. So the
Well, yeah, but you're
this
working so
Xbox
hard.
360
There it
version.
is.
Oh, there you go. That's way better.
Kevin's gonna pull it over here in a
the
second.
gold controller, amazing.
Yeah.
The blue and white detail on the side of it and on the front, like that. That's how you do a custom console.
Hell yeah, and that's the kind of console that makes you go, oh man, I need to go buy that.
But even the Darth Vader PS4 they did was much better
Battlefront
than
last time? Or?
That was when the
Yeah,
original
yeah.
Battlefront launched.
Kevin, you
yeah,
have that one, right?
Remember, didn't Sean Layden come on stage at the GameStop Managers Conference and show it for the first time? I'm
probably.
pretty sure he did. And that had like the red Vader decal all over the front. Even that was much better.
It doesn't matter, Kevin.
Yeah. It was, you would have to put a custom console or something in order to get what you're looking for there.
Battlefront
Google image
PS4,
search.
Darth
There you
Vader,
go.
that'll do it.
That's it. Yeah.
See, that's a cool one.
While still a little limited in what it looks like, it's better than what this one is because at least it's got the full Vader image on the top and it's
that's
got
the
the
thing
Star
now is-
Wars etched in the behind him.
And don't get me wrong, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I'm sure there's somebody out there who thinks this thing looks great. But even like, I would prefer and I'm just talking about like, okay, I want to buy a Pro eventually, right?
Right.
I'm almost there. I'm ready to topple. If this one looked awesome, maybe this would be the one. And like for me, it'd be cooler if it was, I would say just even the Inferno Squad logo. That doesn't mean anything to me now, but when I play
hold
the
out
game.
hope for a custom Spider-Man console.
Hold
out hope.
Don't do it, Andrea.
You got to imagine they're going to make one,
I
right?
imagine a lot of decisions Sony should make that they never make, and I'm fucking telling them all the time. Oh my God, if there's a custom Spider-Man one. Well, see, I get excited because I imagine it would be a blue unit with like then the red thing and the white spider on there, but I'm sure it'll just be fucking a fathead decal of Spider-Man.
Well, you never
on
know.
it.
It's a first party exclusive, so maybe they'll pull out the stops for it.
You hope, yeah. I mean, you would hope that like this is granted. It's us nitpicking out beauty out of the hell. Blah, blah. The last few they've put out have been universally like, what the fuck is this? That Destiny one, everybody's like,
It just
what is
feels
this?
lazy.
Yeah, you're just taking logos and slapping them on controllers. Like, don't
Like
even bother.
I could mock that up in like 2 minutes.
100%. Yeah.
I'm not trying to like knock your design team, but I'm kind of knocking your design team.
Sure. Remember when they did the Dragon Quest PlayStation 4 custom one in Japan, right? And it had like the slime on it,
Yeah.
like a 3-dimensional slime. I was like, that's cool. All right, that's something you're doing something different. Not you're just fucking phoning it in over there. Deals of the day. If you go to GOG.com, you can get Witcher 3 for $20. They got all the expansions on sale too. That's game of the year too, though, so I'm not sure if that includes them all. You can also, Andrea's added, save up to 25% on scanned disc memory cards for your Switch. It's the Amazon deal of the day. 25% off what was already a cheaply priced set of cards. At the low end, you can get an extra 32 gigabytes for only $11, while 64 gigabytes is just $18. Those seeking even larger options can pick from a 128 gigabyte card for $7. Why did I just say 4? You ever do that?
Yes.
Weird. 200 gigabytes for $63 or 256 gigabytes for $100. Remember, if you're a Switch folk like we are, apparently you're going to start needing these things. NBA requires you to get one. Get them while they're cheap.
Well, Odyssey's like a week and a half away.
Oh my, it's just too good. It's too good a time to be a gamer right now, especially with South Park, but we'll talk about that in a second. Javier Bonnier Riez writes in for Deals of the Day and says, good morning, Greg and Andrea. I have a deal for the Deals of the Day segment, even though it is partially games related. If you buy a Blue Yeti microphone for $99.99, that's $100, you get a free copy of Watch Dogs 2 from GameStop. Figure this is good enough. Oh yeah. I don't know. You figure this is good enough for someone who wants to start their own podcast. P.S. Greg will admit your cancer panel be available on YouTube. Well, I've blocked out the afternoon of Thursday to edit it, so hopefully soon. Extra Life is the thing too. kindoffunny.com/extra life. Andrew?
Yes, Greg.
Are you ready for reader mail?
I'm so ready.
Jay from NY kicks it off and says, greetings, folks. South Park comes out tomorrow, and reviews have started rolling in this morning, and they have been mostly positive, sitting at an 80 on Metacritic. But Greg, let's be honest, who cares what those nerds have to say? PSN Profiles tells us you have 70% of the trophies and are within arm's reach of the platinum. As far as I'm concerned, you're the expert, so lay it on us. How is the fractured butthole? Does it stand up against the stick of truth? Thanks for a great show. Jason, it's me, Greg Miller. I have 70% of the trophies in South Park. I beat it last night. Game clock, we talked about this, I think, your last show. Game clock on my save says 18 hours. Because we were saying, 12 or 15 or something like that, or 8, whatever. I'm sure I let it cook at some point when I just sat there or whatever and did something stupid. Great game. Enjoyed myself quite a bit. I do not think it's as good as Stick of Truth, but I might be looking back with rose-colored glasses on Stick of Truth. I think the thing with Stick of Truth, if I remember, was it blindsided me how good that game was. Because I remember it was in development hell forever. It got moved over from the THQ business. I went and played it at a preview event, and I was like, man, that felt really good. And then playing it when I was playing it early before it was out, I remember texting Ryan McCaffrey and Brian Altano all the time because they were playing and be like, dude, this is the funniest game I've ever played. And so coming into Fractured But Whole, I think I was already hip to the game. This is going to be a great game. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really funny. And it was. It delivered on all those things. I think they dialed down the outrageousness a lot in this one. Stick of Truth, did you play it?
Only a few hours.
Okay, so Stick of Truth, you remember like you're fighting at one point while your parents are having sex above you, and there's all these like, you're fighting aborted fetuses and shit like this. Like they're like, whoa, this is fucked up. There's still fucked up things in this game, but they weren't to that level, which I don't need or anything. But it was like there's only one moment, and this is, I mean, I don't think a bad thing. There's only one moment in this game where the game was so funny that I had to stop playing to laugh. Me and Jen were playing there, and she was playing Stardew Valley, and she was just listening to what was happening, and we were both in hysterics at what was happening. And so there's laugh out loud moments in the game. I chuckled a whole bunch of it. But I'm comparing it to Stick of Truth. Overall, game's great. Had a great time. 18 hours. Go ahead.
It's interesting that you say that because Andrew Reiner over at Game Informer said, can they do that? I said this 3 times while playing South Park. Way over the top stuff in this one.
Yeah, there is over the top stuff. I'm not going to ruin any of it for you.
Right.
Here's the thing that I found interesting. Tim, and I'm sure we'll talk about this on Gamescast this week, was texting me yesterday about it. He's like, hey man, how far are you? And I'm like, I'm about to beat it. I'm 15 hours in. He's like, oh shit. I'm 4 hours in. He's like, I like it. It's great. I'm not enamored with it. And this is one of those things again, this is a 15-hour RPG or whatever, right? For me, it's a controlled burn in a way that last night when I got to the end, this is a game that is very much like, all right, about to beat it. Oh, fuck, there's more. All right, I beat, oh shit, there's more. Like, and they kept doing that and doing that and doing that. And the payoffs at the end are like Jen was like, how the fuck can they do this? Are they not worried about getting sued? And I'm like, parody? I don't know. I don't know how you get away with what they're doing there towards the end on certain things. But on top of that, the way they take you're playing as superheroes, which I love, of course. I loved how diverse all the costumes were, how much customization you could put in there, the powers you had, because you get different classes as you go, and then swap them in, so you get to move your powers around throughout it, so fights feel fresh as you go through them. But like at the end, when they bring it all together and it becomes superhero-y, it's really fun the way they fuck around with it, the way they bend everything in on top of each other. It's great. I think if you like the first one, you're definitely going to like this one. My only thing is, I think maybe it's just I got so caught off guard with the first one that this one I was expecting this game to be great, and it is, and so it's great, but I'm not like, holy shit, everybody needs to run out and play this, but I guess I kind of am because I'm saying it. I know, I just beat it last night, technically this morning at 1:30. But it's like, it was a lot of fun. I really dug it. The platinum, I'll tell you right now, don't do what I did. How there's the trophy for playing as a black character on the hardest difficulty. Just jump in and do that, because this is a one sitting platinum if you do that. I did not do that because I was like, because I remember last time around where I was like, oh, I bet the South Park game. I looked at the trophy list. I'm like, I could probably get all these in one go, and like I missed Chin Pokemons and all this other shit. I was like, well, fuck, that didn't happen. I'd have to play it again. Fuck it. And so I was like, set myself up on this one that I'm gonna have to play it again. So fuck it. And then I got to the end. I'm like, fuck, I probably could have just done this. But I made my character look like Jen, so I played it through Jen in the entire game, which was fun, and she enjoyed watching herself.
Did you notice specific commentary because you were a female character?
No,
because you can't. I thought you can pick your gender and you can pick like a fluid gender as well,
you can
right?
do that. Yeah. There's definitely specific jokes to that, and like, you know, because like this isn't a spoiler. They've talked about it before, like, you know, you were a boy in the first game, but this is a canonical sequel to that. So there is the Mr. Mackey thing of when I chose to be a girl, and he calls my parents to verify that I am in fact a girl. Like, oh, he was a girl the whole time. The whole stick of truth thing was a girl. All right, cool. You know, and that was like funny, and it is I don't want to spoil too much, but like it comes up, but it's one of those, no matter what I would have picked, I would have gotten jokes to that effect. And it is the thing at the end, there's like little side comments of like, man, new kid's great at Master Disguise because even though he's a boy, he looks like a girl. Or like, even though he's a girl, he looks like a boy. They move that around constantly and fuck around with that. So it's fun, but it's not like, I don't think there's a different narrative thread there in terms of the jokes, if that makes sense. I think it's just how the game's built to have those in there. Good game. Everybody should play it.
If you don't like South Park, you probably shouldn't play this
Probably
game.
true, yeah. If you're,
Everybody should not play this game.
Yeah,
if you do not like South Park, you will not like this game.
That's a great point. No, Andrea makes it. It's funny because I just said like I can't recommend it.
No, because there's a lot of there's a lot of very controversial humor, which South Park is known for.
100%.
And if that's not your flavor, you will not like this game.
Yeah, no, you're correct. What I said was total bullshit based on everything I had just said. I have no idea
like,
why I said it.
I love this game. Everyone
but
should play it.
Literally,
No,
as I said it,
no.
I was like, no, that's not right. And you got it there for me. But yeah, this is how it is. Cameron writes in to kindoffunny.com/KFGD, just like you can, and says, not so much a question, but more of a comment on the IGN/Humble Bundle situation. You heard about this, right? While you were gone, we talked about
course.
it. Okay. If you missed Friday's Kind of Funny Games Daily, IGN has bought Humble Bundle. Of course, Humble Bundle puts out bundles of independent games and gets them there, but they also publish games, and IGN reviews games, and it's okay, that's an interesting move. I fully understand people's hesitation to the idea of a reviewer/seller relationship, but I think people's hate for IGN is provoking this a bit more than it should. My main example of this is that no one, to my knowledge, even batted an eye when GameStop announced that they would start publishing games. With that, Game Informer started to review Game Trust, GameStop's publishing label's games. Both Song of the Deep and Deformers were reviewed on Game Informer, making this the exact situation last year, yet no one mentioned it. Thanks for the show and all you guys do, Cameron. Does GameStop own Game Informer full out now?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and it is incorrect to say that there was nobody talking about this. Andy McNamara, the editor-in-chief over at Game Informer, put out an article called "Game Informer Stance on Gamergate in relationship to GameStop owning Game Informer and making sure that there was a clear line about their ethics. So that happened. And then there was also an entire thread on Reddit about Game Trust and Game Informer and GameStop's relationship.
Sure.
Interesting enough, I was on a panel this weekend with Mike Futter, who was a former Game Informer employee.
And he just talked about GameStop coming in and being like, you review Song of the Deep and give it a great score.
No, he wanted to make sure that it was known that there was never anybody from GameStop ever coming into Game Informer and saying, you must do this. He said there was a very clear firewall between the editorial team who was giving review scores and doing editorial coverage of games and Game Informer and Game Trust. Because Game Informer has reviewed, the Game Trust games, and he was like, it's frustrating to me that there's this assumption that they had their hands in it, and that just was not true at all.
Sure.
They went out of their way to make sure that there was no crossover and that nobody from GameStop had direct editorial control of any of their content. And he said this because, in relationship to the IGN and Humble Bundle situation, he's like, if Game Informer operated this way, it's probably safe to assume that IGN also has a similar editorial firewall. I know for a fact that IGN has a separate content team who specifically works on ad content.
100%.
Meaning if they were sponsored integrations it's a separate production team that makes that video content or that written content versus the editorial team who does the reviews. I know because I have been paid to do a piece of sponsored content at IGN, and it was a completely different team than I worked with from the people who I've worked with on editorial stuff. So
one of the big reasons I moved off of editorial coverage was because up at Noon was going well, and they were using more for hosting gigs, and they wanted to start selling me. So they couldn't sell me in a video if I'm reviewing something else. So I got moved over to host instead of an editor anymore. And that was the end of me reviewing games.
Right. I mean, and these big, large companies are very good about this. And it was frustrating when we were talking about it in the panel. And one of the comments I made was, I have never met an entire person in my whole career who was paid to review a game.
100%.
People are paid to stream games, and people are paid to make content about games. I've never met somebody who was paid to put a review score on a game. Nobody that in my career that's ever happened.
Sure.
I'm not saying that in all of video games that's never occurred. I'm just saying across all of the outlets I have ever worked with, and of which there are many.
Busiest lady in the business.
None of those people have ever engaged in this kind of practice at all.
And that's what Tim and I were talking about yesterday, or on Friday, and the fact that, you know, I was like, it does for me raise red flags because it's just the journalism degree in me or whatever. But it is also the fact of I worked at IGN and I know what it's like there, and I know how seriously they take all that, and I know how seriously Steve Butts takes it now to this day, and Dan Stapleton, all these different people there, and Per Schneider. And so similar to what Cameron's saying, I think it's just the fact that these things get kicked up because they're different, and then they settle down and you forget about it. I think Game Informer and IGN are respected enough, and you can throw every one of the Reddit comments, IGN stands for, you can't spell ignorant without IGN, whatever the fuck you want at me. That's all bullshit, and everybody knows it, and it's just mean kids on the internet being mean. It doesn't matter. Like, the people who work there care about their jobs and wouldn't fuck this up because of that.
Well,
but I understand why we want to watch it and have watchdogs on this. So
of
don't lay your guard
course.
down.
And when we were in the height of Gamergate, my biggest thing was, it's all about choice. If you do not like the policies of a specific website, if you don't think their ethics policy is clearly defined enough, if you have any doubts about their motivation for writing a specific piece or saying a specific thing in a video, then don't watch them anymore. I mean, the internet loves to cry, vote with your wallet, then, vote with your clicks. Go to a different site that you trust, or go see somebody who has a very clearly defined ethics policy if that's very important to you.
100%. I mean, that's just, I think that most sites do, especially most of the big ones. I mean, we do, right? Like I was talking about it where that first time we did a Call and Greg Live where we announced we'd quit IGN and we were all there and we were all in the room. Somebody in the chat's like, so what's your ethics policy? And we were like, oh, like we'll just tell you things. Like we're never going to hide anything from you. You'll always know if something was sponsored or if, when we mention a game, if we worked with them previously or some shit like that. Like that's how it is. Andrea.
Yes,
it's time
Greg.
to squad up.
Oh, right.
This one is adorable. It comes from Gabe. Gabe needs help on the Xbox One. Gabe's Xbox Live username is GabeFall, all one word. GABEFALL. Hi, Greg and Andrea. My wife and I often enjoy playing video games together. She is particularly fond of and rather good at first-person shooter games like Call of Duty, the franchise which we play most. Whenever we play together, I feel like my lack of skill is dragging the team down, and worse, letting her down. We enjoy playing together no matter what, but I would like to contribute more in the digital disclosure that is online split-screen first-person shooter. That is why I'm looking for Kinda Funny best friends to help train me to be all that I can be in preparation for the release of Call of Duty World War II this November. Whether it be drills, a sparring partner, or just solid advice, I need to improve my skills and be ready. My Xbox gamer tag is GabeFall. Please, help me contribute to the team, both online and in life. Thanks, Gabe. That's what marriage is all about. Good job, Gabe. Getting out there, trying to be better at it. We have a new segment. This one's called Vinay Loves Kumail. Vinay wrote in and said, this is a shout out to Kumail. And he uses his Reddit username, of course, Kumail786 from Reddit, who is a Kinda Funny best friend. I have been trying to finish the Nightfall Strike for a while, and I tried getting multiple people to help me with it without success. I even tried figuring out this Discord thing and was left more confused than ever. I hear you, bro. Then I stumbled upon Reddit, the Kind of Funny Reddit, where Kumail does an amazing job at welcoming the newcomers and keeping everything up to date. Not only is he very apt at including up-to-date information in the Destiny 2 Squad Up thread, he is also very gracious and helpful to all newcomers. Since I was growing impatient and wanting to get my Nightfall Strike done, I requested his help, and even though he had done the Nightfall Strike already, he took the time out to personally help me finish it. P.S. Oh, okay. For all those YouTube commenters that keep bitching about not being heard, maybe you should head over to Reddit's Kind of Funny subreddit and make your voice heard. Thanks. And now to the Leviathan raid. Kinda funny. Andrea,
Yes, Greg.
what did we get wrong today?
Well, let me refresh the page, make sure nothing came in at the last minute here.
Remember, if you're watching live on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames, it's your job and duty to go to kindoffunny.com/you're wrong. Tell us what we screw up as we screw it up.
This first one?
No fucking editorializing.
No good.
No editorializing. What's the fact we got wrong?
Before the list of games out today, and I almost corrected you when you said this,
no.
Greg said, Andrea, sounds like CD Projekt Red is coming far, far from now. And I know that he meant Cyberpunk 2077. Yes, he did. I think we all know that.
Thank you.
But I don't know if that game's ever
No,
coming
I'm
out.
an idiot. Shame me. Publicly shame me. No, Kevin, not you.
We said that Doom was going to be released on Switch on November 10th. That was in there. Did you just not read it?
You
Did
know
I
what?
miss you?
No,
Did I
you're
miss
right,
you not
you're
reading
right,
it?
You're right. It's on the document, but I did not read it. You're very.
I totally missed
think we got
you
caught.
missing that too. Thanks, Dunk Boss 52.
Yeah, I went right from Battlefront into GOG.
Doom is coming on Switch.
November 10th. It
November
made it there.
10th.
You know what? It's just I'll get it all. Pete Hines and me, we don't get along anymore, and so I was gonna sandbag him. I wasn't gonna do it. I love Pete. It's fine. Now I'm circling my headline.
Okay. Technically, we could get into the weeds about this. It says, so Falcon Box says, Andrea stated that Spider-Man is a first-party exclusive. I believe that since Insomniac is not owned by Sony, that makes it a third-party exclusive. I think technically this would fall into second-party.
Yeah, it would.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is very rare. Yeah, it's a console exclusive. I didn't mean for it to be confusing because because Sony proper is helping fund the development of this game. Insomniac is not making this on their own.
Yeah. Yes. Is it? Would it be third party since they don't own Spider-Man, the IP? Because like Ratchet and Clank is a second party exclusive because Sony's paying Insomniac, a third party or an independent studio, to make Ratchet and Clank, which they own. Is that the definition, or is there any payment to help make the game?
It's a good question.
I've stumped myself now. Yeah, I walked myself in the corner.
We'll have to
You're
get
on the
back
show
to you.
tomorrow. We're on the show tomorrow.
We'll
have-
provide a clarified answer on the difference between first, third, and second party exclusives on the show tomorrow.
Do we have more you're wrong?
If you have specific insight into this, if you are a video game publisher listening to the show, you could write into kindoffunny.com/KFGD and give us a clarifying answer.
God, I got fat
Okay.
thumbs.
Last. This is not a thing.
Nope, this isn't a thing at all.
It's about your shirt. It doesn't make sense.
It's my Danny shirt.
Yeah.
Oh, here, Ars Technica has a view topic here.
Okay.
Oh
That's
my
it for
God.
the You're Wrong.
Oh, this is way
You
too
are looking up
complicated.
a clarifying statement about exclusives.
Yeah. A second party can, however, do projects that go. Ugh, Jesus Christ.
So how about we'll pin this, put a pin in it. We'll look into it and we'll get you guys a specific update tomorrow. But what I meant was it's a console exclusive for PlayStation.
Correct.
I don't think they've announced it coming to PC.
No, they haven't said anything
So
about that.
I'm pretty sure this is
Hashtag
only
Spider-Man
coming.
PS4.
I think this is only coming to PS4. So I don't think this is scheduled to ever come to Xbox, by my knowledge. But we will look into all of this.
It's one of those. I go no,
Yeah.
we can't.
Yeah,
no.
I don't think it will. I think that Sony's put a lot of money into this, and they're like, no, you will
that's
never
the whole
come to
thing.
Xbox.
But it's with everybody playing fast and loose with the word exclusive these days. You can never be sure anything.
you know, it's so confusing.
Yeah. If you didn't know, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Kind of Funny Games Daily for Monday, October 16th, 2017. God, this month's going fast. 10 days till the anniversary of PlayStation 2 in North America. Pretty stoked about that. If you like that, you can watch it live on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames. You can watch it later on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, or you can listen later on a podcast service of your choice, no matter where you get the show. Thank you so much for your support. Remember, we're here each and every weekday. Tomorrow, the host, Andrea Renee.
Me, I'm back.
2 days in a row. We're blessed with you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, it's been our pleasure to serve you.